Otakuology podcast with Otaku Mike Engine Graves.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Otakuology podcast. I'm your host Otaku Mike, and with me as always is my adventuring heterosexual life partner, aka a Jin. And today we are looking at Delicious in Dungeons, episodes 21 and 22.
Yes,
exactly.
So, episode 21 is called Egg, the Golden Country. And episode 22 is Griffin and Familiars.
Okay. So before we get started with the episode, I just gotta say, we got a comment on our feedback on our podcast from the other day.
We did. You know, we always tell people to comment on stuff, and so to hear somebody actually commented on, like, really? What?
Yeah. So they commented on our Akira Toriyama episode.
Okay.
Which, I hope I say this name right. It's Miyaki? EEC? Berg? I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. I apologize if I butchered your name. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But they ask, go back to Delicious in Dungeons in all capital letters. So that's actually what we're doing. Look, we had an off week because there was a week we didn't record.
Did you say, and it's Macie?
It is MIACEBERG is what it is.
I wonder if it's supposed to be like Macy Berg.
Macy Berg? Oh, that might make sense.
Maybe Macy.
Meaciated Berg?
Not Meaciated Berg. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. But yeah, so like a couple weeks ago, we had like an off week where we had technical difficulties where we couldn't record. And weather issues and stuff like that.
Does anybody else experience weather that's painful enough that it will knock out your podcast feed?
But we had that, and so then we did Cyberpunk, and then we did Delicious in Dungeons, and now we're doing Delicious in Dungeons again. We were going to start rotating it because we had like off weeks, because you know it only comes out like once a week, you know, if you're not gonna quote steal it, you know.
Right.
Can I just say
what?
My coworker is so cheap, he steals Delicious in Dungeons off of a ill-repute site because he doesn't want to pay $7 to watch it on Netflix.
I mean, is that his logic? His line of logic?
I guess so.
I mean, technically, you're not paying $7 for just Delicious in Dungeon.
I mean, that's true.
You're paying $7 for everything that they offer.
That's true. Anyways, I just wanted to put that out there. We had a discussion about it today. He was like, like I started watching Delicious in Dungeons. Like, oh, you got Netflix? He's like, no, I didn't get Netflix. And I was like, oh, one of those people.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, let's get into this.
One of those people.
We have a really good episode for you guys today. Pretty crazy episodes, I feel like.
Yes.
In a sense. You want to get us started?
Yes.
Okay, because let's chew into this episode.
Because we have 21 was the Egg and the Golden Country.
Yes.
Which you may have to get me a little started on the Egg one. I really feel like that episode they were in the Golden Country the whole time.
For most of it. So the episode starts out actually with Kabru and Shiro getting back to getting back to the upper world, the surface world.
Yes,
And
yes,
they get back and they're talking about exactly what can they do to for like do they inform the Lord of the Land or whatever he's called. I don't remember what I think it's Lord of the Land.
yeah. Lord of the Land.
Yeah, Lord of the Land. And they're
Hey,
like,
and we also find out too that Shiro ain't such a bad guy because he also said,
yeah,
we're not exactly going to tell them
yeah.
exactly what's going on with
We're just gonna say like
Laios and the gang.
something needs to be taken care of, and they're talking and whatnot and discussing this. I love this little detail where I don't remember what her name was, but the head girl in Shio's group, she's like undressing him and putting his like normal clothes on and stuff. I love the little detail where they're shaving his face
Yeah,
as he's talking.
yes,
And I was like, huh, interesting. She must be like have really steady hands to shave and talk at the same time,
right.
you know. But yeah, so Shiro and
Well, and my other thing that I want to know is,
uh-huh.
has she ever like seen Shiro naked?
Ooh, probably. I'm
Like,
gonna say
like,
maybe.
and not in like a kind of way, but like if she has ever basically had to um do that because I mean she's
Like
known him since
like
she was a little
like
boy.
bathe him, like
Yeah, like that.
prepare him a
Like
bath and bathe him and
you,
stuff like that.
yeah, like your servants take care
Yeah,
of you for
yeah.
all that stuff.
I mean, that's what they seem like, kind of like bodyguards slash servants.
Yeah,
Um,
but like sometimes though, like when we first see her, she really feels like she's infatuated with him.
yeah.
Like if he ever like wanted to like marry her or something, like she wouldn't be against it.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this scene, it kind of made me think, well, does she bathe him and like does she take care of any of his other needs? Like what
I
else
mean,
happens because she's always like, oh, Shiro,
he is a man, and men have needs. Just saying,
right,
just saying.
right.
You know.
So so I question that, and then I also question, just in general, like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, since she's taken care of him so long and everything, as a kid and all that, is there anything else more there,
Yeah,
or is it just like she has this like motherly, like older sister love,
for
kind of
sure.
sort of with it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe we'll find out later. You know.
Yes.
But as Shiro and Kabru are talking, uh, the dog guy and like the gnomish dwarf I think they're a gnome. They happen to see a ship and they're like, "Oh, look at that ship! It's so cool." Kabru notices that it's actually a ship of the elves, and they're like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "We gotta go to the Lord and talk this through because that's a bad thing if the elves are here."
Right.
And so they show up and they see Namari, Kiki, and Kaka. And they're like, oh, yeah, they're here. You know, they've been talking for hours, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatnot. And they're like, oh, we got to go in. So they bust in. They see all the elves there. And correct me if I'm wrong. Were they getting the gnome and the Lord drunk?
No, I think they were just there together. I think the Lord was already drunk,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I think Mister Toto, Todon, whatever his name is, um, I think he was just pissed off.
Really? Because I thought they were both drunk. Because they had like that like nice like reddish like glow on their face or whatever. So I was really curious about that because they had wine and stuff on the
Could
table.
be.
So I was
I
wondering.
thought I thought Toto got mad because, or was red because he was mad.
I mean, he was mad as well, but he was also seemed like he was a little drunk, a little belligerent. And I was theorizing. I was wondering if um if they were trying to get them drunk so they could sign the papers to go into the dungeons.
Oh, could be.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't know though, just because of the elves and how they are. Like, if they
Uh-huh.
want to do it, they're going to do it. So I don't
Well,
know if there's
I question it
actually a
because
paper signing.
I question it because he one of the elves said, "Hey, we need you to sign this paper. So that's what led me to believe, hey,
Yeah.
they need this like signature so they can go into the dungeon,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, so I have a question.
Uh-huh.
What did you think about all these different elves? Because they look crazy and
I
like they
like
shouldn't be together.
I like the fact that they all have a very, very distinct look. And you can basically tell them apart. I like there was like a dark elf there too. Uh, uh and I was like, oh, like I like their look. And they all seem to have like a distinct personality and look for the most part. I'm really curious about the elves. I really want to know what exactly is going on with them. In a sense, you know.
Yeah, so all these elves look crazy, right?
Yeah, they do. They really do. Wow, that was such a dramatic pause, Jin.
I know.
Anyways,
Dunna. Dramatic
so what
pause.
happens next?
So after we basically get all this stuff done, and we have where uh, they're talking, Cabra decides like, "Hey, do I bring up this stuff in the dungeon or not?" And I'm pretty sure like Cabra was thinking that Shiro's not going to do it because Shiro
No.
just had it, which I feel like I did call this. Um, I felt like I called this from when we were talking about it.
Yep.
Yeah. So this whole thing though of what it is and how I feel like Shiro, well, like I said, I called it
Mm-hmm.
because I knew when we were talking before that I felt like Cobber was going to somehow stab the party in the back.
Yeah.
Now I do feel better about his intentions this time because I don't feel like he's exactly in the realm of
No.
like really trying to do that,
Yeah.
but because he does feel a lot better about Laios,
We all
which is
we
good.
we also get tragic Cabra backstory.
We do.
We find out that the elves came in to his town, and there was a dungeon in his town, and
Yes.
apparently they killed all the monsters or destroyed the dungeon or whatever, and there was casualties.
They
And
they stopped going in the dungeon.
was that what it was?
Yeah, they stopped going in the dungeon, and so the amount of monsters that were in the dungeon overflowed to the point where they came out of the dungeon.
Okay, I thought maybe they went in and they killed the monsters and
Mm-mm.
destroyed it. That's what I took away from it.
Yeah, they destroyed it afterwards, but it was already like kind of too late.
Okay, and we find out that Cabra has a single mom, and apparently she died, which
Right?
caused Cabra to have a lot of heartbreak. And he got picked up by the elves, and he was sent to live with them for a couple years, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't know if it was exactly with the elves or like a subsect of them.
Okay, because the elves mentioned like, oh yeah, we heard about that. So and so, the vice captain or whatever brought a child back, and you're that child.
Yes.
And they're like, oh okay, yeah, yeah. And so they start talking and whatnot. And Cabra's like, hey, don't do anything. We'll evacuate all the people that are in the dungeon right now, and we'll try to basically take care of this, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, they were trying to save as many people as they could, but the that kind of was the part that threw me off in part of this
Mm-hmm.
episode was because you're saying don't let people in there to control the monster populations that
Yeah.
are in there, but you want people to come out so that you can quote unquote protect them.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that just going to increase the monster populations?
I guess so. Yeah.
So I mean, his argument just didn't seem like it made a lot of sense. I understood kind of what he wanted to do because after we get a little more into the stuff with the elves,
Mm-hmm.
where he goes, "Hey, we can clear the people out and then we can go in." I kind of got part of that, but I think he just explained it poorly.
Yeah.
Of course, we also find out that he's a jealous son of a bitch. So
Yeah. He
because
is.
because he tells us too about his tragic backstory, which
He tells
sure,
it to us twice, I think, in this episode.
I think so too. Yeah. But then he brings it up too about where he wanted to find people that were like hardy and all
Mm-hmm.
this other stuff to help him basically like take out the dungeon and defend people and do all this. And that's kind of how he fell on Laios and Fallon.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes into this thing like he talked about before about how they're so horrible or whatever because of them like working with these bad people. When this episode, I guess after he's met Leos and he kind of knows like it's not that, it's like they just like helping people.
Yeah, they're like just genuinely good people.
Yeah, and they open themselves up to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
um so I mean, like, it was a little comforting, I guess, knowing that he's kind of changed his tune a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, but Cabra is still a pain in the ass to me. Like,
Are we still on we don't like Kabru
yes, we're
team?
still on fucking we don't like Cabra. Fuck that guy.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we're still on fuck Cabra. Okay.
I mean, he did have that cool point in like that one episode where he like climbed up on Fallon and started stabbing her. But I mean, that's the only thing I'm gonna give him, okay? Because that scene was pretty cool.
Yeah, but we also don't know if he made it worse.
That's true, and
So
we like Chimera Fallon, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
even though she's not manga correct,
No,
Boing.
we're just gonna move past that.
um but yeah, and touching on something you said earlier, I do like all the different characteristics of the different elves that are in this group
Mm-hmm.
because none of them do seem like they fall into that same line.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch anything like Lord of the Rings or anything like that, almost all the elves seem like they're exactly the same. They may
Yeah.
have a different hair color, but it's always long, whatever. I mean, my favorite one right now is the darker one, I think, with the eye patch, or she's got her hair covering her
Uh
face.
huh. Okay.
Uh, and then you have the whole diverse one, which is the big guy that's like his hair's all dirty or whatever, and he's got
Yeah.
tattoos and he's shirtless, and you're like,
Yeah. No,
uh, I
they
feel like I've
definitely
seen you on like one of those smutty books
they
before.
definitely had like a real distinct look, and I'm really curious to see what they do throughout the rest of this story. You know.
Yes. Now, my only gripe about that would be because we've only had one of the elves right now stick out so far,
Mm-hmm.
at least verbally, personality wise. Um, is I really hope they run with that with the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we've talked about before, when we had all the party together, where it was Shiro and Cabra's and Leos's parties all together,
Yeah.
there's just too much there.
There's too many people to keep track of when they're all
And
together.
and like looking at how many elves are there, it almost seems like all together, it's like all three of those parties being back together. So
I
I
don't know about
really
that many.
I really hope that it will kind of get like each one will get a little like filled out a little more,
Yeah.
that we can tell that they have different
Little bit
personalities.
more character development.
Yeah, because if we don't get anything to kind of like have that split up, I don't I I don't know a point of why they would have done that.
Yeah, I can see
You
that.
know, and I'm leaning that way towards the other two girls that Shiro has, because I mean, you and I know Taro,
Yeah.
and I mean, obviously she stands out and everything else, but
Oh yeah.
the other two girls, besides like Mizuru, which is the main chick,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like they stand out too much.
No, we haven't really seen much of them as well.
Yeah,
So there's that. Um, but we transition from that to Leos and his group. Since she's making some eggs,
yeah.
or I don't remember what exactly he is making. I can't remember. He's doing something with boiling eggs or something. Do you remember what he's making?
No, isn't he making like an omelet or something?
I think so. I can't really remember what he's making.
See, this is my problem on this part. Is I'm spilling over into the last episode we had with the ice golem, and they had the little fire trap.
Uh-huh.
And he made the fish for Izutsumi, but
Yeah.
then he made everybody else like egg custard.
It was some kind of egg thing. I can't remember what. It was like I don't remember it. But we'll move on from that. He makes it,
Yeah.
they're eating it, and it's Izumi, she's like looking around and whatnot, and Chilchuck is like, "Hey, can you stop that? Because you're making me a little jumpy." And she notices, she senses something's around. She like senses it. She's like, okay, there's something here, obviously. And Laios looks and he's like, oh, it's like the ghost who's like been following us. Or am I just still mana sick? I'm not for sure.
I just thought that I would ignore them.
Yeah, I just thought I would ignore him until the problem went away.
I think this is my favorite part of this episode. Yeah, well, maybe you should listen to him. Well, now he's telling me that he's upset that I have just admitted that I ignored him and that he's been trying to talk to me this whole time. And now he's scolding me that why didn't I bring it up to y'all?
that part was really funny.
And nobody else can hear it, so it's hilarious because we're dealing with just Laos, and they're not even showing us the ghost at the current moment when
No,
he's talking
no.
to the party, and you're just like, okay,
Okay. And everybody else
okay,
is like, okay. And they're like, yeah. He's like, hey, we need to go with him. And let me ask you, is this the king?
no,
Is this Dalgo?
no. This was, I want to say this was Dalgo's brother or one of his like sons or something,
Mm-hmm.
because it's his heirs, and I think it's his heir like two down the list.
Okay.
Not like his son or his grandson. I think it's his great grandson, and it's like his uncle.
Okay.
I
I
think
wasn't for sure if it was Dalgo or not.
no, because they say it was somebody, and that he tried to come out from the Golden Country, and he ended up basically getting lost.
Okay.
And so that's supposedly, and I mean, I thought this was a cool layer. I don't know if you caught it or not, where they were talking about the longer a ghost is away from the Golden Country
Uh-huh.
is the reason why they look like they're more fucked up.
Oh, I didn't think I caught that.
So like the ghost that we're talking to looks like he's missing an eyeball and stuff.
Yeah.
And so supposedly when he walked out, he looked like what the people in Gold Country did, but blue as a ghost.
Yeah.
And so over time now they've started to fade, and fade looks like decay, I guess, for what your spirit looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still confused, like why Marcille can't see him.
Yeah, because like Fallon could see ghosts
Right.
and spirits and whatnot, and Leos can as well, apparently. So maybe it's just like their magic ability that they have.
Yeah.
Maybe it's passed down from their family.
Maybe
Like it's a
they have it
special
in there
thing.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um. But and then the ghost asks Leos, which we find out it's the same ghost that saved them from the
the
Mad
Mad
Mage's
Mage.
trap.
Yeah,
Yeah. From them getting crushed in the wall.
yeah,
Um, so we kind of relive that scene where they all kind of like the hands come out of the wall and grab them and pull them into the Golden Country,
yeah.
which we find out is kind of almost a parallel plane to
Yes.
ours.
So this is where I was very confused.
Okay.
I was like, are we on a parallel universe? Is this like a pocket dimension type of thing that's
It's
running
like a pocket dimension in the dungeon.
Okay. Because I was like, what the hell is going on here? Because they fall through this like vortex thing or whatever, and I love that scene where they're like all falling through and whatnot, and they get to this world or this dimension where the Golden Kingdom, and They're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe we're here." That's what Laios says, and everybody's like,
Yeah.
"What the hell is going on?" And Senshi just blows chunks.
Yeah.
He was like, "Bleh." That's a funny
Right.
scene.
He's like, I'm mana sick.
Oh man, I'm trying. They call it travel sick. I think it was they called it.
Yeah. Which
Oh,
I like that. I'm going to touch on it now because I think I'll forget later on. I really like the part where when they leave,
he does it again.
somebody brings it up and they go, "Why do we have to keep falling? Why can't we just
Yeah.
walk through
Like,
something?"
why do we keep falling and we keep having to like throw up and vomit? Because Senshi vomits again later on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But they do walk into this like really nice looking area, which I feel like would be like the farm area from part of the paintings that
Yeah.
Laios was in.
I think it
And,
is.
it's kind of the scale off of what those paintings were.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, it's set up with the Mad Mage and things like that.
Hmm.
But they're set up where monsters in this area aren't aggressive.
They're very docile,
Yes.
which it
So,
affects in Izumi.
yes, it does affect Itsumi. It was
Itsumi, sorry, Itsumi.
hilarious.
It basically turns her into a docile
Like
house
a house
cat.
cat.
A house.
Yeah.
She is a house cat, basically.
Which remind me, we'll touch on that when we get into the next episode because the
Okay.
part after they come out, I love that part.
So,
Um,
yeah.
and they talk about it. Which were you ever skeptical about? Like, were these people ever like a red herring?
Yes, I was. I was expecting him to be like an illusion of some kind from like the
See,
Mad Mage.
I was expecting that, or for them to be like another like the dryads that we saw.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I
Like
can see that.
maybe they were like a spirit or like the puppets and like something was controlling them.
Yeah.
But we just get into it that they're whatever, they've lived their life, they do this, they've lived for hundreds of years and they've tried to make their fun, and they're trying to virtually not like go crazy enough to like, I would say, off themselves. That's why they
Yeah.
still farm, they still
They
do all
they,
this other
they
stuff.
don't eat though.
They don't,
They don't eat.
which is weird.
Yeah, which they bring that up later on in the episode.
Yeah, which I agree. We'll come back to that in a second because I really like what Senshi says
Yeah.
at the end of this. But they have also like kind of domesticized like these monsters.
Yeah, there's like a spell in the air, or what I think it is.
Yes. So they have split everybody up to go do different things. Um, Marcille and Itsumi go with some girls that have dresses for them to try on.
Yes.
Chilchuck goes with them too, right?
Chilchuck goes to like this
Like he's
guy.
still in
He
the same
has like a
area.
brewery or something.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and
He
he's
goes to
like,
a bar.
yeah, he goes to a bar and he's drinking. He's like, oh man, this is good. Do you like do wine as well or whatever? And he's like, oh yeah, I've been brewing stuff for like it's been 600 years. And
Right.
he's like, oh, what generation are you? And it's like, I'm generation one. And he's like,
Yes.
come again, type of thing.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, Chilchuck finds out that these guys are actually really, really old. And I love his scene where he's drinking. He's like, "Excuse me, say that again. Like, you're how old?"
Right.
Exactly. And we find out that they have minotaurs, and Laios got to milk a minotaur. Oh,
Oh my
sorry, a
god.
female minotaur.
Right.
And since she got so excited that they had the biggest like monster vegetable garden he could ever like find or see.
Yes.
Exactly.
Let's
And they
see.
come rushing and like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Right. They all rush up to Marcel. I think that was one of the other funny things that happened is all of them like got to go do something they wanted to do
Yeah.
and like relax.
Uh-huh.
But we find out too that it's the king's like great ancestor or whatever. That's
It's
the
like
boy that's
great,
there.
great, 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 great grandson or something.
Yeah.
I think.
We get to know a little bit more about the Mad Mage. What's the original king? I can't remember his name.
Dalgal.
Dalgal, and
Yeah.
I can't remember the Mad Mage's actual name.
Oh, fuck.
Was it Thistle?
Thistle. Yes, Thistle.
Basically Thistle was adopted by the kingdom
Mm-hmm.
and was like Delgal's like brother, kind of sorta, and then he wanted to learn magic whenever Delgal took the throne, which is how he did that. He kept studying and studying and studying, which is how he became the Mad Mage.
Yeah.
And at some point it just like broke him and he went crazy.
The power got to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That happened.
yeah.
But I love the scene before this where they're looking at Izumi and she's like all up on Marcille, rubbing on her and stuff, like a cat.
Yeah.
And she goes to sit on her lap, and Laios goes up to, like, kind of touch her. And I love this scene where she like swats his hand away, and you see the look of defeat on Laos's face,
Right.
and he's like, I can't believe she just did that. And he goes and stands in a corner and just looks in the corner defeated.
Yeah.
It just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. See, and I think as straight as the beginning of this episode was, I feel like the second half, while they're here in the Golden Country, is all like, I mean, it gives us like the story or whatever, but it almost seems like comic relief. I
Like
mean, it
almost
is
slapstick almost.
yes. But they do that, and Senshi actually takes part of the food, makes them stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is delicious." And this is the part where I was saying that I really like, which Senshi brings it up. They're
Mm-hmm.
trying, and that's where we find out more about. Oh, well, we can't actually taste it, but from the texture, he knew like how good it was.
Yeah.
The prince or whatever, I guess, and yeah, since she just tells us, he goes, it's like a muscle. You guys haven't used it
Yeah,
in
you
so
haven't used
long.
it in a while,
You guys can't taste shit,
Mm-hmm.
like, so you have to work that muscle by cooking and doing all this other stuff to be able to use it again.
And we also come to find out that Laos might be the chosen one
Yes.
because of his
Um,
sword.
we know the prophecy, and his sword changes.
Yeah, sword changes, has a lion on it now. Which Laos freaks out and he's like, oh my god, like, how did this get here? What's going on? I don't know if I want to be the hero of destiny.
Right.
Can I have time to sleep on it and think about it? Like, give me a day to think about it.
Can I evaluate this?
Yeah, can I evaluate this? And that's
Yeah.
kind of what they do. Is they all end up going to bed and they're in the same room. And can we just talk about how nice it is to feel represented with Senshi and his dad bod
Definitely.
all sprawled out on the bed.
We've had jokes and stuff on our Instagram about this, so I even posted that special one in our story for you where it was
Oh,
Senshi
yeah.
sitting there, and I was like, okay, I gotta find this song, and I couldn't find the right song. I was so upset about that. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go with, fuck it. I'm gonna go with the polka dot bikini one,
Yeah.
So I mean, it worked out, but I was trying to find where it could be like, now that's. But yeah, no, I posted that, and it was I was trying to find the whole thing of that was a bikini body to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to settle for the polka dot bikini one, I guess.
Okay. But yeah, the ending of this episode is really interesting because they do discuss exactly what they're going to do and should they actually like help these people. Like, what do they like need to go after the Mad Mage? Like, or are they just going to have their original goal in hand, which is to just save Fallon?
Right.
You know?
Well, and we also thought that maybe we might have a spot to rest a little while. And after that first night of them sleeping, they were like, but yeah, we're talking about where they woke up and they were told that the Mad Mage will probably be there at some point and that he knows where they are because more of his little dragon familiars were showing up.
Yes, they were.
And so they were like, you have to get ready to leave, basically.
Yeah.
So I think that's where this
That's
episode.
kind of where this episode ends. Yeah, they end up they don't leave yet, but they're like, eventually they have to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they left coming back through the portal.
I am a robot. I'm not really a robot, but anyway, we had a little technical difficulty, but we are back, guys. All right.
So moving along into episode 22.
Moving along into episode 22. So we are coming back through the portal from the Golden Country, and this is the part that we mentioned already in the
Yeah.
first half of where Chilchuck basically Senshi is like, why are we falling again, and get sick.
Yeah, that part was really funny.
And
And Izumi, she didn't even know what happened in the last episode.
yes, and it like hit her as like a secondary memory,
Yeah.
and like she just like cringed out, like, oh my god, what did I do?
What's going on?
What did I do?
Yeah, it's like she just blacked out drunk and like
Yes.
didn't remember anything.
So it was hilarious.
Yeah, most definitely was.
I think that was my favorite part going into this one.
Yeah.
But we are kind of in this like weird, we're still in a snowy tundra area, but this one is like a big ass forest of like almost like sycamores or redwoods.
No, they're not in a forest. They're not even in a forest. What are you talking about?
Are they not in a forest with big like pillars and
No,
stuff in it?
they're pillars.
Oh, see, I was thinking they were like trees and stuff too.
No, they're pillars. They're like in like the dungeon area.
Because I was like, how is this creature building a nest on top of these places?
I mean, they could find stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's true too.
Like,
so I thought it was like a combination of like,
I don't know where you thought it was like a tree.
Because of the nest.
Well, I mean, like, because like they even showed like etchings in the stone. They even talk about it.
Yeah.
There's like dwarven runes on the stones.
Yeah. No, I knew that part, but I was like,
nowhere there was a tree in this episode, except for like when they went through the portal.
With the branches, where the branches for the nests, were they made out of branch wood stuff?
I think they probably like scavenged.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, because I thought it was like pillars with like tree branches growing out of them.
No.
Because I was like, how did this creature like build a nest?
Yeah.
On the side of this thing.
So all the party members, they get there. They're kind of trying to gather their thoughts and whatnot. Since she asked Chilchuck to basically sketch, like do like an etching of these runes so they can find out exactly where they are.
Which I thought this was cool as fuck. I'm just gonna say that.
It was really cool. I feel like seeing them trying to like decipher where exactly they are, because Senchi's the only one that can read Dwarven, I think, in the party.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I think it's ancient Dwarven.
Yeah.
So he kind of knows what it is, but I don't know if he fully knows what it is.
Well, we get some revelations at the end of this episode when we get to it.
Do we? We get 2 revelations at the end of this that are crazy. But we have that. We see like footprints in the snow,
Yes.
and everybody's wondering, is this Fallon? Because there's also feathers that kind of look like Fallon's, and all that other stuff. And I think the creature does like a call or whatever,
Yeah.
and since she automatically knows what this is.
It's they think it's Fallon, but or it could be a griffin, like they say, because Laios kind of thinks it's a griffin,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, griffin! I don't like griffins." Since she says, and he starts to kind of low key freak the fuck out.
Oh, I mean, he doesn't even like freak out. He like
What the
run.
first at first, because he kind of like freaks out, and he's like, "Oh," he kind of like tries to
He
distract the
he
party.
kind of reminds me from Ichabod off of the Disney Sleepy Hollow thing.
I guess.
You know, where he's kind of like sweating.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of how it was, and he's like trying to like curl into himself, like, you know, and then he just like fucking like Michael Myers walks out of the house, and he takes off.
Yeah, he's like, "Foop, I'm gone, I'm gone."
Yeah,
I love the scene where he's like, "Hey guys, look at these mushrooms. We can cook them." And they're like, "I think these are toxic mushrooms."
trying to
know?
avoid the situation. Yes,
Yeah, he's trying to avoid the situation and stuff, you know? And
See, and it was so weird because this is the first time of us seeing him do that.
yes, he was very much out of character, I feel like,
Yes,
in a sense. And he kind of takes off as the griffin is attacking. And they're like, "No, Cinchi, don't go. You know, don't run away from the griffin." And the griffin just goes and takes Cinchi.
yes,
And the party's like, "Well, what do we do now? Like, what can we do?" And Marcille gets the idea to summon a familiar, which is,
yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, it is a monster.
It is like an imitation of a monster.
Okay.
Because it's one that you make almost like making a golem.
Uh huh.
And I mean, I would say it would be best understood if we rooted it into like how like Senchi's golems work
Mm-hmm.
and how Fallon was reincarnated.
Okay.
Because Marcel had to use like meat that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And they added vegetables and all this other stuff to help it out. Which, I mean, they had to have used like a shit ton of vegetables
They did. They
and
used
stuff.
all their vegetables, I think.
Because I think Marcel said it was a week's worth of rations.
Yeah, I think they used all their vegetables and all their meat too.
Yeah. So, I mean, that part is like crazy.
I love Laios, and he's like, "Hey, what kind of monster are you gonna make? Like, oh, what's it gonna look like?
Right? Can you teach me how to do
Can you
that?
teach me how to do it?" You're like, ooh.
Right?
And Marcel makes these weird, deformed blood dragon thingies.
The first one looks like a pterodactyl.
I guess, yeah.
It looks like a little hot dog pterodactyl. Because it is weird looking as shit.
I love when like the big reveal happens for the familiars, and Laos is like, "What the fuck is this?
Yes.
This is not
Yes.
what you promised to me."
And she had enough resources to like have the starting stuff to make 3.
Yeah,
And I mean it flies up to find Senshi, which is great. You know, it took a rope with it. Griffin caught it. No, it was sensor butts. It was down.
yeah, it was gone. It was gone.
Leo starts doing one, and he makes one of the little, as close as he can to one of the little blood dragons that the Mad Mage had.
He does a pretty good job of sculpting it, I feel like.
He does. He does a really good job of sculpting it. Lasts longer, is able to do stuff, but it's not as maneuverable or as fast as they would like still.
Yeah.
So now we're down to our very last one, and Laos goes fucking nuts because he's like, let's give it 2 heads, let's do more detail,
Yeah.
let's do this. And it's like really like putting this hot dog putty to like use of doing all
Yeah.
this other stuff.
and Marcille has to think about it.
I love when Marcel just comes in and just squishes it.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, my
No.
masterwork." Um, that was great.
Yeah.
And Marcel makes a skyfish, so it looks like a really like straight needle
Mm-hmm.
with
With wings.
yeah, with like dragonfly
It
wings
looks like
all
a
over it.
hot dog with wings.
Yes, and pointy things on the edges.
Yeah.
But whenever you make a familiar, like it takes your eyesight and things like that
Yeah.
to be able to control it. So doing that and moving it with your mind and everything,
Mm-hmm.
you can't necessarily move or see. And so they have to bandage Marcel's eyes. Laios has to pick her up so that they can go do all this other stuff. And it's just a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But when she makes this last one, she stays in the right spot. She does all this. And she just kind of goes ballistic with
And
this
she ends
thing.
up impaling the griffin in the wing,
Yeah, like
which
multiple
with
times.
multiple times, and it stops the griffin. The griffin falls. I love the scene where the griffin's falling and Leos like jumps up like kind of midair, and he
Yeah.
just stabs the griffin. Which I'm very curious. Do they take the griffin's meat?
Oh,
Because
I'd
they
say so.
because they end up eating the skyfish.
I'd say they take the meat. So there's one part on this. I think this is the first one I've actually noticed where it differs from the manga like a lot.
Okay.
When they first see this thing, they bring up could it be Fallon and stuff too,
Yeah.
but they also bring up could this be a hippogriff?
Yeah.
And so there's in the manga there's actually some dialogue towards that, could it be a hippogriff, da da da, and they find out that it's not because griffins have the back legs of a lion,
Mm-hmm.
hippogriffs have the back legs of a horse.
Okay.
So they didn't bring up a hippogriff at all. So
Uh-huh.
that this was like the first big noticeable thing that I realized was different from the manga on what they've actually talked about. Because
Other
we've
than
been
Fallon's boob size.
that's true too. That's true too. They're supposed to be bigger, okay?
Yeah.
Um, but we do have kind of that whole thing. Of course, we have where they defeat the griffin. And like you said, they eat the skyfish and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, which is funny because when Leo starts cutting it open, it
It,
looks like
it looked like sushi.
a sushi roll. Yeah,
Yeah.
it reminds me of a fudomaki sushi roll
Yeah.
because fudomaki is like it means like everything, so they put like everything into it, and that's what this looked like.
Yeah.
Which was hilarious because Marcel's like, I didn't even get a chance to like born this thing correctly or whatever. And I think Marcel thought she was going to get to keep this thing forever.
Yeah. I
Um,
was stunned that they didn't actually make sushi.
Me too.
Like I was like, oh man, I feel like this is like a missed opportunity to have like monster sushi.
Yeah, because they took the wings and almost made like potato crisps
Yeah.
or like a pork rind,
And
if you will.
then they like deep fried the sky snake.
Yes. And my closest comparisons of what we have for all this stuff,
They
I
made
would
fish
have
and chips.
I would have to say fish and chips
Yeah,
or
they made
like
fish and chips. That's what it was called.
oh, okay. I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, it was called skyfish fish and chips.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
I imagine the skyfish to be more of like a Japanese like corn dog, with
yeah,
like the cheese and stuff on it.
yeah. I mean that's what it was called. It was called the skyfish fish and chips. That's what it was called.
Okay.
Yeah, I caught that the second time I watched it. I was like, what the hell?
So that's funny though.
Yeah,
I've never seen fish and chips with veggies in it. Okay.
but we get to the point where Chilchuk brings up his backstory. He talks about how he's like grew up in like a specific area, and he was like, I've been in several different parties to, try to make ends meet. I'm also married and have a wife and kids. And for some reason, I can't see them.
Can't
We
tell you that.
can't tell you why. And he's like, oh, Senshi, how about you? And Senshi starts talking about himself, and we find out that apparently Senshi used to be part of a mining group,
And he was the
and
youngest member.
he was the youngest member, and they would look for like different scraps of things in the ground, and they came upon the Golden City. And it turns out that Senshi has been in down in the ground, or I guess or whatever, for like over a decade, even before the creation of the dungeon.
Yes.
So like what's going on here exactly?
And that his party was attacked by a griffin.
Yeah, and that's why he freaked out. Like they all died,
Yes.
which very interesting reveal. I feel like
Yes.
very
Yes.
interesting because they didn't
Which
really know anything about Senshi.
they didn't know.
Yeah, they just didn't ask him.
And I mean, I thought it was cool because, like, when we get the images of stuff, like, we see where, like, he got his helmet from.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I imagine that he got the rest of, like, his cooking equipment from them, but, you know, it's going to be fascinating to find more out about
Yeah,
Senshi
it
after this
definitely
point.
is. I feel like we need more about Chilchuck as well. So I need to know more
Yes.
about this wife and kids.
Because I want to know what they look like.
Yeah. Do you think
Um,
Chilchuck's wife is hot?
ooh, I don't know.
Like, do you think she's hot?
Would she also be a half foot?
Oh yeah. Is she a human? She a tall man
Right? Or is she a different race?
or an elf?
That's true. Yeah,
What is she?
I'm trying to think. Like, who have we seen like that? He acts sweet around.
I don't know.
I can't think of it either.
Nobody.
Right?
He's kind of like in it for himself almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, these two episodes, boy, man, oh my god, they were so crazy with like info and new revelations. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed these two episodes.
Yes. I will add to that and agree with you. Because off of the last two, I did voice where I felt that there was something off about the last two.
Mm-hmm.
And these ones I feel like puts us back on track. Like,
Yeah.
these two episodes were great. I mean, we got a little backstory of the shit with the elves and that they're actually in town, which honestly, we could have held off on another episode till that. I didn't really care for that part, but we got all this extra stuff of them learning more about the Mad Mage, and of course, Senshi's past and Chilchuck's past, and familiars. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that we've touched on that. I mean, we know a little bit about like Laios's background. Now we know about Senshi's and we know about Marcel's, but we don't really know that about Chilchuck yet.
I kind of hope in the next episode that
Yeah.
we possibly go into like a Senshi flashback episode, like Marcille.
Maybe.
That's what I hope for. Like, I think it's going to be cool if they do
Yeah.
that. Like, we need that. We need that. We need to know more about Senshi.
We need this. We want
need
this,
guy. We need this, Studio Trigger. We need this.
Let us
I
know.
need this. I need this.
I was trying to see if I could find the name of the next one. It's not out yet.
Is it?
Not on Netflix for me to see it.
Okay, so the next one is Griffin no Supo?
That doesn't tell me nothing. Griffin
Sorry.
soup? Is that what you said? Griffin soup?
Maybe it's soup. I don't know. But yeah, no, I really like these two episodes. I thought they were a lot of fun. when I stopped watching both episodes, like I was like, oh my god, like I can't believe they've given us this like information. Like my jaw was on the floor knowing about Chilchuck,
Right?
and I have theories. Like
How
is
how funny did you feel at that point when Chilchuck said that he has a wife and kids after like having the whole point where like since she did the whole thing about
oh
telling
yeah.
them like where babies come from and like like how to do this and how to like acting like Chilchuck was a little kid.
Well, I mean, Chilchuck even says like a lot of people mistake him for a kid.
Yeah.
They think he's gonna grow up into a tall man or a dwarf.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was a funny revelation. I was like, oh my god, like part of me was like, a
That-
part of me was like, I wonder if he's just fucking with him, you know? Because
That's true
I
too.
feel like Chilchuck could possibly do that, you know? He was like,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of pulling their leg type of thing to see their reactions. If so, like Chilchuck has like a good poker face because he didn't fucking crack,
Right?
you know? But I mean, he was the one who put two and together about Senshi being like, oh my god, like what if Senshi isn't from the surface?
Yeah.
You know, what could this imply, you know? So yeah. I mean, shoot. I mean, so many questions going through my head, you know, about this, like, you know,
So what would you rate these episodes?
a 5 out of 5, man. Like they were good. They
Uh
were fun episodes.
I'm going to second that as well.
Like they
Uh
were really fun.
I feel like there's no qualms in any of this or anything else.
No, no, not at all.
Um there's nothing else really. Like I said, if we had like gotten to a point where we know like more so that we're not going to have anything with these elves and their personalities,
Yeah.
and if they get any character development, maybe that would give it some negative points, but it's not set up for that yet. So,
No, no, no. I mean, I really want to know what's coming up further. Like, 'cause we already got like a new quote quest is to go talk to the Mad Mage. You know, the Mad Mage obviously sees them and he knows what they're. He thinks he knows what they're doing. You know, he's trying to follow them. So
right. And I wonder if Sinchi's the key to anything now that they know where he's been.
and that's true because like when when they go through the wall, like Sinchi and his group break through the wall, the room that they're looking into is the room where the griffin is in.
Yeah.
So like if you look in the flashback, those pillars are covered in gold.
Right.
And when they're in the present day, half of the gold is gone. So they're like half like stripped of their gold. So
Oh,
like
see, I thought all the gold was gone.
I mean it looked like half it was gone to me.
Yeah.
But I mean I don't know how far a dwarf is going to go up a pillar, you know?
That's true. Well, and we also know that they weren't going to try and strip it. They were looking for like gears and
Yeah, the
pieces of
minerals
stuff
and stuff. Yeah.
and cuz they mention it earlier, I think in episode 21, about where the town has all of the um instruments from the past, I think is what they
Yeah.
call it. Which are mostly like Dwarven and Elven, but that's what Sinchi brings up that they were looking for.
Hmm.
They got ores and other things like that, but that's not what they wanted. They wanted the other things to find like the adventure of what these old technologies were.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I mean, that sets us up for like a lot of stuff. I really wonder if these old technologies are actually where the walk and the lid and the knife and everything come from.
I'm guessing they probably do. Because Chilchuk pointed out that like his stuff is really good
Yeah.
to be for him just to be down here for like and eat monsters. You know, there's something going on and there's something he's not telling us.
Yeah.
You know, so we're gonna have to figure out what exactly that is. But good 2 episodes.
Good, great 2 episodes.
Yes. Yes. But we will see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to leave us
Yes, we
feedback,
will.
like, hey, cover more Delicious in Dungeons, do that on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Leave another comment of telling us that you want us to cover more Delicious in Dungeon.
Yeah, you know. Or tell us that we're doing a great job for the podcast, even with all the technical difficulties.
This is true too. Tell us that our cyberpunk is good.
Yeah, tell us Cyberpunk is good. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and we did have that poll, so people did vote on what they liked and some other stuff as well. So
Yeah, on our Instagram.
on
Check
our
us out over there at Otakuology Podcast. And we will see you guys on the next episode.
Yep, we will see you next Tuesday.
See ya.